80 miles further south of the most southerly point of England lies the island of Guernsey, our destination for a new holiday adventure. Guernsey is the second largest of the Channel Islands, and with Alderney, Herm and Sark comprises the Bailiwick of Guernsey, which is the oldest part of the British Empire. From Southampton, or from Weymouth, one of the mailboats brings us to St. Peter Port, capital of the island. Here is one of the finest harbours in the British Isles and also one of the most beautiful. Ahead of us is the inner harbour, where yachts and fishing boats rock idly at anchor. Beyond stretches the picturesque town, rising in terraces that combine in their architecture an interesting blend of English and French, which is essentially Guernsey. Across the harbour stands Castle Cornet, scene of many battles throughout island history. Yes, this is the day. Perhaps for the first time we set foot in Guernsey, and we are not alone. Friends are with us, and there's a welcome waiting in the friendly island. Some folk don't like sea travel, or maybe they're in a hurry. In either case, a quick flight will solve the problem. From London Airport, for instance, it's just over 1 hour's flying time to Guernsey. Just time to read a magazine, eat a snack, and arrive. Hello there, welcome to Guernsey. Had a good flight? Evidently, yes. Ah, the island hospitality. Life here is easy and friendly. Already those home worries seem to be vanishing. Although St. Peter Port has all the amenities of a modern resort, it still retains some of the quaintness of the old fishing village it once was. Narrow cobbled streets combined with new thoroughfares and modern shops, a mixture of yesterday and today. High up in the town is the Royal Court, where laws are made and justice administered, for Guernsey is governed by its own parliament. In Condy Gardens, the changing patterns of the seasons can be seen in the colourful flower beds. Many varieties of tulips attract the eye in springtime. Later in the year, arum lilies fill the shady pond. Victor Hugo, an historic figure from the past. Who can forget the great novels he wrote in Guernsey, Les Miserables and The Toilers of the Sea? He lived here for 15 years during his exile from France, his native land, whose coastline he could sometimes see from St. Peter Port. A quaint little chapel is often visited at Les Bovvaley, the smallest church in the world, a multicolored mosaic of shells and pieces of broken china. Government House stands in attractive grounds and rich parkland. This is the home in Guernsey of the Lieutenant Governor, Air Marshal Sir Thomas Elmshurst, and of Lady Elmshurst. It was an off-duty for His Excellency, who is, of course, Her Majesty's representative in the Bailiwick of Guernsey. In the old walled garden of Government House, Lady Elmshurst can enjoy the results of earlier gardening activity, for the mild and temperate climate of Guernsey creates a profusion and variety of flowers. The Lieutenant Governor's duties are many and varied, taking in different aspects of island life and industry. Among these is the vital one of agriculture and farming. In Summeray Park of the annual show of the Royal Guernsey Agricultural and Horticultural Society, His Excellency sees and admires the finest examples of the island breed. And who has not heard of the Golden Guernsey? On this occasion, His Excellency presents to the owners of the winning breeds the Queen's Cups. These cups are the personal gifts of Her Majesty to the people of Guernsey, and new cups are presented every year. 3 cheers for Her Majesty the Queen, and congratulations to the breeders who, during their life's work, have contributed to the improvement and development of the breed they loved, the Golden Guernsey. From the heights above St. Peter Port, a pattern of islands unfolds. Sark, 8 miles away, and to the left, Herm and Jetu, the little brothers of Guernsey. Down in the harbour at the Albert Pier, the fishermen are baiting their hooks ready for the catch. This is some job. Perhaps as many as 600 hooks must be baited with sand eels. Visitors can join in too if they're keen enough, and if they have the patience to help with those lines. Toilers of the sea, and that also goes for these young lads. They know every turn of the tide and also how to haul in a few spider crabs. Cast away there, off to the fishing grounds with the hungry harbour gulls to give a send-off. Summer or winter, rain or shine, the fishermen must cast their lines or lobster pots around Guernsey's shores. The markets must be kept busy with the harvest of the sea. At dawn next morning, we find ourselves aboard the hopeful Venture, all ready for a good catch, we hope. First of all, a few skate or rayfish, and they take some hauling in, for these chaps weigh 12 or 14 pounds apiece. Nature's food supply, and more to come. The morning light strengthens as the hours pass. It'll take 5 or 6 hours to haul in those lines with maybe 600 baited hooks. Perhaps there'll be a dozen varieties of fish. In this instance, a fine specimen of crayfish, an unusual catch on a hook. Another lucky catch, especially on a hook, a lobster. Look at those claws. One nip from one of those, and brother, you'd know it. In the hands of a good chef, maestro of the cuisine, the lobster takes on a different look. He's been boiled alive, meaning the lobster, not the chef, and he's changed color to a bright red. Oh, what those lobsters go through. But these folk are too hungry to worry about the lobster's worries. All they want to do is eat. Don't forget the tomatoes, the love apples of Guernsey. And that reminds us that tomato growing is the #1 industry of the island. The majority of the fruit is grown under glass, miles and miles of glass. In all, some 15 million plants are set out every season. Heating and ventilation are carefully controlled, and in March and April, the first fruits are ready for picking. The tomatoes are then carefully graded and packed. Nothing but the best is allowed to go through, and this packing station is only one of many, all combining to create the #1 export on which much of the island's prosperity depends. Along the quays, the lorries queue up. Crib after crib must find its way into the cool holds of the cargo ships. Tomatoes for England, tomatoes for Ireland, tomatoes for you and me. This is hard work. In any one year, the export of 50,000 tons is not unusual. Yes, those love apples mean big business. Away from the noise and clamour of the docks to the sound of the sea in a distant bay, the south and east coasts of Guernsey are fringed by valleys and steep cliffs rising to over 300 feet. Glorious views meet the eye at every turn of a cliff-top walk along this beautiful coastline. There's something here for everybody. At Petit Beau, for instance, what delights in store. Warm sands to bask on and the tang of the sea to put back that feeling of joie de vivre. On the cliffs, above Moulin-Huet Bay, looking out over the Peak Stacks and Jerbourg Point, and across to Petit Port Bay, a delightful sun trap. Waterfalls plunge through green valleys. Water lanes find their way to the sea, passing perhaps an ancient wishing well where a penny must be dropped in for good luck. Down the green pathway to Moulin-Huet Bay, and we meet such charming company. Perhaps that penny we dropped in the wishing well brought us luck. 14 bays for 14 days. Every day a different bay. Moulin-Huet is only one of many, each with a different charm and character of its own. Of course, one doesn't have to climb rocks everywhere. Some people do it by choice. Good for the figure, perhaps. Now for the plunge, perhaps the first one of the season. Come on now, be brave. It's not really cold. Don't forget the sun oil or lotion. Many a holiday was spoilt by trying to get suntan too quickly. Now we're just off the east coast near Fernian Bay, the same rugged and impressive coastline, ideal for climbing and exploring. Fernian Beach is one of the most popular of all, perhaps because it's near to St. Peter Port, the capital. Of course, if you want to be alone, you won't come here, but right now we don't want to be alone. We just want to get that holiday feeling and join in with the world and his wife. A trip along the coast in a motor launch, perhaps. Or here's a handy way to while away the passing hour. Paddle rafts. All the fun of the sea without the trouble of swimming for it. Rockain Bay on the west coast gives the grand sweep and contour of the larger bays of Guernsey. Inland, the golf course will beckon those keen on the game, but for us, the call of the sea. So let's make for the smooth sands of Varzim, the game of rounders or perfect bathing. What an El Dorado here for family parties. Picnics by the sea and then a plunge into the foaming surf. These are the happy days of the year, the days to remember. Hey, what's this? Motorcycling on the sands? Certainly, and what better place for it than Varzim? The Motorcycle and Car Club see to it that every season has its full quota of fixtures. They're all highly tuned machines of up to 500 cc and riders who know their stuff. Just follow those wizards round the course. Up to 80 miles an hour along the straight and faultless cornering technique. This is dangerous stuff. The sands are wet and slippery. One false move and, wow, anything can happen. A great performance by Guernsey's crack rider Dick Henry, who wins the main motorcycle award of the meeting, the Coronation Cup. Now for the racing cars. A fine start for the 10-lap scratch race for cars over 1,500 cc. Lapping the circuit in little over 30 seconds, with an RE Special in the lead, followed by a Jaguar. Just watch them go. And the winner, A. La Galles in his RE Special. Anyone want to boil an egg? In 1946, the states of Guernsey purchased the island of Herm from the Crown. Herm is a tiny paradise just 1 mile long by half a mile wide, but containing some of the most beautiful scenery in the Channel Islands. In summer, thousands of visitors make the 3-mile trip from Guernsey across the little Rosel Passage. Perhaps it's just a day trip, perhaps longer, but when they arrive at La Rosière landing, we find ourselves in a friendly world of its own, and one full of novelty, as we shall see. The cargo boat from Guernsey brings daily supplies. Although the resident population of Herm is only about 36, there are hungry visitors during the season and thirsty ones too. The tenant of Herm is Major Peter Wood, sometimes known as King Peter. He is responsible to the Guernsey States for the administration of the island. 7 years ago, Major Wood came to Herm with his family. The big task confronted them, the task of reconstruction. Old and derelict cottages, for instance, had to be restored and modernized. In this case, the picturesque fisherman's cottage, once reputed to be haunted, is being redecorated. Almost every building on the island has been restored, including these picturesque mermaid cottages. Tarmac roads have been made up from old cart tracks. Did we say no traffic in Herm? Soon they'll be having traffic jams. But this is the place to escape to, where the rush and strain of city life seems so far away. The work goes on, the work of making Herm a prosperous little community. And here, in an old walled garden, the tenant of Herm can relax every now and then with his family. In the center of the island are massive granite buildings. These are parts of the Old Manor House. On Sunday, the chapel bell tolls from a quaint old belfry, calling residents and visitors to divine service at the little chapel of St. Hugo. The children of Herm really enjoy going to school. Come on, hurry up there. A few years ago, much of the island was neglected and uncultivated, but by careful planning and hard work, the barren land has been made fruitful and more pastures are reseeded every year. The farm has been stocked with the famous Guernsey cattle, for the island must be as self-supporting as possible. Old Ferdinand here is no fighter. He just wants to smell the flowers in the meadow and take an occasional drink. Down the valley to Belvoir Bay, down the warm pathways between banks of sweet-scented ferns to the warm sands and the blue channel waters. Soon we come to that most famous of all Herm's beauty spots, the Shell Beach. If you search here, you'll find shells in more than 200 varieties, scattered in thick profusion, an amazing selection of different shapes and sizes. There is nowhere else in the British Isles where they come so thick and fast. During the winter, the Herm Islanders make them up into trinkets and souvenirs which are sold in the island shop during all this is very thirst-making. At the sign of the Mermaid, the only pub on the island, all thirst troubles are speedily cured. Back in Guernsey, we find ourselves supporting another bar. A cocktail before dinner prepares one for the evening's entertainment, of which there will be quite a choice. Dinner, or dance perhaps, or theatre with some attractive new acquaintances. While the bands play and the bright lights shine, the evening shadows fall across the harbour. But the night is a short one. Not much time for sleep, for next morning we're with the Guernsey Yacht Club at the start of the day's racing. And it's a lovely, clean start, all in perfect formation. This is the sport of the islanders. Just watch those graceful seabirds skim through the channel waters. The race will continue for hours on a course from St. Peter Port across the little Rosel Passage towards Herm, but we have to cut things short. There's another event to catch up on the same day. Let's just see the finish of the race. A useful breeze has sprung up, the leading yacht approaches the finishing line, and we have the winner. Off now to La Valette Bathing Pool with the Guernsey Swimming Club, the first gala of the season. This attracts a good crowd, and if you're not swimming, then you've got someone who is. First, the boys. 2 lengths freestyle. Come on, fellas, show us what training can do. Everybody knows everybody here, and everybody's favorite has just got to win. Now for some diving. Nothing fancy yet, but good. Who are these, ballet dancers or heavyweight fairies? Come on, get going. We haven't got all day. Now for the great day, the pageant of colour and beauty that heralds in the Battle of Flowers. In Samaras Park, this annual event is organized by the Northern Agricultural and Horticultural Society, and the crowd of over 20,000 people rose up to see the exhibits that have taken weeks to prepare. Thousands of blooms from hundreds of gardens combine to present a wonderful spectacle. Many hours of hard work have gone into these creations, which will live only for a few hours for the delight of the crowd and then be torn to pieces in the battle, when the tomato gets a look in through this representation of the Love Apple League. And still more to come, more to amaze and delight the children. Tunnel of Love, 47 feet long and made up of 25,000 gorgeous blooms. Yes, this was the winner of the coveted award, the Fre de Her. It just had to be. Old Guernsey is represented by these gallant blades and their ladies from the past. And today, the Guernsey we know is represented once again in the Queen's Float with its bevy of charm and beauty. A youthful Queen of Beauty to whom we must say farewell as the pageant closes. A fitting scene on which to leave the island of flowers, for all good things must come to an end. But the call of the islands will surely get us again, and another year will bring us back to beautiful Guernsey, back to those happy days.